Feathers up. Alito to my beautiful American Indian people / Aboriginals, American Aboriginals / so-called quote-unquote, blacks. We're going to be discussing, like we said before, the genealogy. I told you guys before, we're going to get into a little bit. It's going to be, a snippet of more to come. And as you can see, we come in all different colors, man, all different shades, from dark to light. And there's a lot of things that we got to deal with our people, because for some reason they feel like if you're too light, then you got to be mixed or things like that. And then if you're too dark, they consider you so-called African, whatever that is. But this is the thing that I see within our people, this whole color game and things that's been going on. And we know that there's been, mixing and mingling with our people and our ancestors and stuff like that. That's not going to change. It hasn't changed. These are things that we're going to have to deal with. But a lot of the people that you guys would consider mixed, that are so-called light-skinned, don't be mixed. And the people that you guys think that so-called, quote-unquote, blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice, or the darker the skin, the deeper the roots, all this stuff, that's all fake. Because I know mulattoes that are mixed, that are jet black, with kinky hair, and they're mixed. So that goes to show you, amongst the people that you can't judge everything by color. Period. That's out of the window. You can't. And also, we're going to go ahead and get into special guest we got here. My beautiful American Indian wife.
Everyone, hi.
And she's going to be discussing some good historical article that she got, a newspaper clipping that she got that her family contains from her, is it your great-grandfather?
My great-grandfather.
Her great-grandfather, which I had give you guys a little piece of it before. So we're going to go into this newspaper clipping, and we're going to show you guys some discrepancies of when her great-grandfather's cousin was interviewed by a person in 2014. And you're going to see how he plays. You guys are going to see how they play with words, the word game. So let's go ahead and let her read with her great-grandfather. And you got the picture, right? So you can pull it up and show them. And that's her great-grandfather. And this is her grandfather right here.
His son.
You can see the resemblance.
Clearly. Now let's go into...
We're going to make one correction, though. The guy that wrote the other article is actually my great-grandfather's nephew. This article is from, it doesn't have a date on it, but what it says is Nickton man approaches century, turn of the century. Basically, he lived to almost, he was 99 when this article was dead. And what the article states is, from post-Civil War Reconstruction days and lunar landings, Bob Mark, 99 of Nickton, has seen a lot of progress over the years. Today, near the spot in Nickton where he was born almost a century ago, Mark is celebrating his 99th birthday. They claim I'm history. I've been here for a while, Mark said as he sat in a rocking chair on the front porch of his daughter's home. Mark can recall back in the days of his youth when roving bands of Indians passed through East Texas.
When what?
Roving bands of Indians passed through East Texas. The cattle became restless as the band of Indians approached, Mark recalled. Then the old chief and about 10 or 15 braves would appear near the house about supper time.
The old chief, like an OG.
The old chief would come in and sit down at the table. The other Indians would just stand around and never say a word, Mark said. The Indians would come about once a year, Mark said, and would always go into the Alabama Creek bottom to camp. Mark liked to recall days when he used to sit on... I'm going to read that sentence. Mark likes to recall days when he used to sit and listen to his father's tales of Civil War. My father served as a cook in the Confederate Army, Mark said. They would be preparing meals for the soldiers and would have to hustle to get out of the way when the cannonballs would come in, Mark continued. Starting to work as a youth, Mark has been a farmer and logger most of his life. However, one of his first jobs was working at the cotton gin. I used to work at a gin. Some days it would be so cold that I couldn't walk when I would get off the lever, he said. Mark saw hard-working conditions as a logger in the early days also. I used a crosscut saw to saw logs. I would walk to work every morning, and sometimes the creek would be out and I would have to wade through it, Mark said. Two of Mark's favorite pastimes over the years have been fishing and gardening. No longer able to keep up his vegetable garden, Mark said, I have a mind to keep the garden, but I just can't do it anymore. When fishing is mentioned, Mark's eyes still light up as he recalls the days that he used to set out hooks along the riverbanks and catch really large catfish. The secret to successful fishing is using the right bait, Mark said. We used to use toad frogs, he continued. While plowing, Mark and his friends would gather a bucket of toads dug up in the fields. With the bait, they would go to the river on Saturday afternoon to set out their hooks. Take the hook and tie it around the frog, Mark said, and drop it into the water.
So let's focus on go back to the part with the American Indians.
Mark recalls the days. Mark can recall back in the days of his youth when roving bands of Indians passed through East Texas. The cattle became restless as the band of Indians approached, Mark recalled. The old chief and about 10 or 15 braves would appear near the house about supper time. The old chief would come in and sit down at the table. The other Indians would just stand around and never say a word, Mark said. The Indians would come about once a year, Mark said, and would always go into the Alabama creek bottom to camp.
So these American Indians will come up to her great-grandfather, and through your oral history and things that you know, besides, let's just remove what we learned from the Caucasians or what they try to teach or program us. Without any of their influence, what is the oral history? What do you know? What is your family set on that side? What is their ethnicity or nationality?
If it depends on who you talk to, but everybody know that Grandpa Bob was a Cherokee Indian, and it's posted as such in history of Nickton.
Okay, so you guys see that. We have to go ahead and correlate with this, because how are these American Indians that are read that again? They're where at? Roving band of Indians, right?
Right.
How are they able to speak and communicate with him?
Every year.
Every year. If they're speaking another language, but they're out there roving and, out on the outside, living like wild Indians, how are they
supposed to be hostile going into someone's house, but they were civilized, sat down and had dinner.
And they knew structure and command, because the chief, the OG, would speak, and the other ones would do what? What did it say?
The other Indians would just stand around and never say a word, Mark said.
So you guys got to understand, like, this stuff is, everything has been hidden from us. But the truth can't be hidden anymore. And this was her great-grandfather. This is him right here. This is her grandfather. This is his son. See the resemblance? Cherokee. These are American Indians. Now let's go ahead and read. Let's read the abstract of the other article.
You want me to just skip to the Indian part?
No, on this one. Oh yeah, okay, right there.
You want me to skip to the Indian part?
Just read the part where read the same one, and then go into the guy that's interviewing him. Let's see how history changes. Let's see how they change things in modern day, from the original to where this is a abstract of somebody interviewing. Who is this? His nephew?
Yeah, my great-grandfather is Cleveland Mark is his nephew. So his brother's son.
Now this is Cleveland Mark being interviewed. Bob Mark is her great-grandfather, who you just seen in the newspaper clipping. Now we're going to get an abstract of somebody interviewing her great-grandfather's nephew.
You want me to read the abstract part first?
Let's read the story first.
Okay. How much of the story do you want me to read?
Just where it goes into the Indians, the American Indians. Is it wrong?
Well, here we are.
Well, matter of fact, does it correlate with the same story?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, everything correlates with the same story.
Well, Cleveland Mark, yes, Nickton was founded by 8 or 9 freed slaves, 1873. That is when Nickton became a community. It gave the name. Yes, go ahead. I just said that your family.
Hold on. Now, what is Nickton supposed to be?
It used to be Niggertown.
So you guys hear that? That's what Nickton, Texas used to be called. Say that again. What was it called?
Niggertown.
Niggertown. Or Niggertown. Nickton. And you guys got roads out there too, right? This is the thing. They got road, what is it, Mark Road?
Mm-hmm.
They got Mark Road down there. These are the Marks. Bob Mark is her great-grandfather. Her grandfather, Roosevelt Mark. So they have a road down there. Now, go ahead.
Okay, so the interviewer asks, he says, just go ahead. I just said, did your family tell you these stories? Just share some of the history as it was passed down through your family since they were some of the pioneers there. Well, this is my cousin, great-great-cousin, Cleveland Mark. Well, my grandfather said his father was, he remembered when his father, the Indians, would come through. They had a trail, an Indian trail through there once a year. They would come and the chief would come and sit at the table with my grandfather, my great-grandfather, and 10 or 12 braves with them. They would all be off to themselves, but he can remember the Indians coming through, visiting with his father. Did he say, this is the interviewer, did he say what tribe they might have been from? If I'm not mistaken, he said it was a Cherokee tribe.
Wow. A what?
A Cherokee tribe.
Okay.
The interviewer proceeds to say, Cherokee tribe, okay, but do you think it might have been the Alabama Cauc-asians? Because my family came originally from Alabama. So Alabama Cauc-asian. Alabama Cauc-asian could have been, said my cousin. So that is some of the early memories that he had. Yes.
Okay, now let's go into the abstract of what they're saying now. This new word that they throw in there. Not in the article, but what they put down through. Go ahead.
After they summarize the article, which is the abstract, which is at the beginning of this article. The abstract. In this interview with Jonathan Gearland, Cleveland Mark discusses growing up in Trinity County community of Nickton and living in Diboll in the 1940s and 1950s. He talked about living with his grandparents in a small, tight-knit African-American community founded by free slaves after the end of the Civil War.
Y'all hear this? Hold on. You see how that switches? A tight-knit African-American community. Those words weren't going on back then. And they was calling them Niggerton. Negroes. And she's got, things that she's put up, the genealogy. We got a lot to get into. We ain't gonna probably get into all that today. There's a lot of other things we want to tackle also. But go ahead.
He discusses farming methods, raising animals, attending church and school, going to Apple Springs in a wagon, smoking meat, making soap. He also talks about race relations in Nickton and Diboll, discussing segregation. Visits by white vigilantes and Jay Bourne's.
White vigilantes?
Vigilantes.
White vigilantes.
and Jay Bourne's treatment of Diboll's African American community. Mr. Mark mentions Willie Macy, Professor Jackson, Arthur Temple, the Liggett family.
Not to cut you off, so-called African Americans. See how these new age, this is the abstract. This is a guy doing an interview in 2014. So you're going to throw that stuff in there. So we always got to know, we got to dodge, duck the bullets and hijacks and all that. Bob and weave. This is a fight we in. Go ahead.
Mr. Mark mentions Willie Macy, Professor Jackson, Arthur Temple, Liggett family, the Deason family, the Lacey family, the Snuffy Harris, the Roach family, the White family, and the Womack family.
Okay. Now I want you to read this right here. This is her grandfather again. This is his burial, you know. His transferring over into the other life. Now we're going to read something out of here.
So, Roosevelt Mark, which is my grandfather, he was an awesome baseball player.
Mm-hmm.
He was
and this
so
is
good.
known through your history.
Through oral history. I even got pictures of some of the cousins on their baseball teams that are his age. It says he entered into the military Army Division in 1953 and was discharged in 1955. Upon his return, he was offered to play in the Negro Baseball League, for which he declined so that he could remain home and help his parents on the farm.
Farmers, by nature. You guys got to understand, you guys got to get off of what they've been teaching you. Remove everything that they have taught you out of your mind. Shout out to Phoenix Moon with the genealogy and all the stuff she's shown us. Shout out to Atancha's one. We don't even deal with none of that beefing or none of that over here in my household, or even any of y'all shouldn't be dealing with that in the American Indian community. We ain't got no time for that. Genealogy, all this stuff works together. Pictures and all this stuff like this work together. All this stuff, we in a whole battle. It's a fight, a war. Everybody can't be, like I said before, just like in the streets, just like in sports, everybody can't be a quarterback. Everybody can't be a shooter. Everybody can't be a guard. Everybody got to play their positions, and it all comes together. You need your genealogy the same way you need these pictures and everything. We need genealogists, people that are good at that, just as well as we need archaeologists. We need biologists, anthropologists. We need all this stuff. All this stuff comes together and it ties in. So shout out to the brother, Tancha's one, Chief Holiday. He stayed, you know, these brothers be hard working, man. The sisters be hard working. Shout out to BCFC, Black Conscious Fraud Community. Shout out to Tasha Yee. Shout out to Cootie Mail, you know, the Brother King Drop. Everybody that's been doing their part, man, they put out so much information for you guys that is just laid out for you. They done did most of all the hard work, and now we got to continue to do what we got to do. Because this is the stuff that is going to pass on. We got to start correcting the wrongs so our kids can reap the benefits and the fruits of our labor. You understand that? And so, as you can see, he was in Negro League baseball. It wasn't African League. All these words are new. This Africa stuff. All this stuff is new. And just like a teacher had told me one time, way back when I was locked up getting my GED, and I was going through my math test, and she told me with my math, she was saying, you're making a problem out harder than what it is. You keep trying to break it down more and more when you don't have to go just this step and this step and you're done. You've already solved the problem. You keep trying to make something harder than what it is. And that's what's going on right now within our own people. We trying to make something harder than what it is. When it is. The truth, it just is. It's there. We shouldn't have to be dealing with this. Is people have to, are we black? We know we're not that. That's no debating. Okay? We know that. Common sense. All it takes is common sense. Common sense. And you brothers that be doing the debating and stuff like that is good. Because a lot of these cats, I can see you guys been getting sharper and sharper through this stuff. So it's making us all keep digging, getting better and better and better. Because it's all coming back to us. Muscle has memory. So what I'm saying is, we got to keep doing what we got to do. We got to keep standing on this research. All this stuff plays a part in who we are and where we're going. And this is a work. This is a job. We all own it. So as far as like with the debating and things like that, people, common sense, people don't have it no more. So what I'm saying is, if you know that when I ask people, what does heat do? Heat rises. Brothers and sisters already showed this in their videos. Heat rises. So how is everybody knows this common sense? Then why isn't the North hotter than the South? These are things we got to look at as common sense. So we know everything's been given backwards. Everything's backwards. And then they'll start telling you all this stuff. People have already showed you how we on a ball and they talk about gravity. And then you say, well, how do you flip something upside down, or how something upside down falls down? Where's the gravity? All this stuff is not, it's common sense, man. There's no need to keep trying to make this, well, you got to do this to this, or this means this and this and this. Nah, it's not none of that, man. It's just common sense. Right? So we already know all this stuff. So I'm going to go into a little bit of mine also. We're going to go into, here's my mom right here. That's my mom on the left. Which by me talking to her, she tells me, here's my mom right here. Long hair, life before weaves, all that. But we already know this is my great aunt who I was talking with. Tells me who our people is. Hands down. Here's my great aunt again, right here. And her granddaughter, my cousin. So what I'm saying is, we got to get off of what everything plays a part in this. So when we're doing our genealogy, we find out, because we can go into where this right here, we're going to go into my great-grandfather. So we're going to be tackling, we're going to go this right here, what I was just showing you guys. That was my mom. Here's my mom. Her dad is Calvin Williams. His mother, my mom told me, was an Indian. Okay? Here's my mom's mom. This is my grandmother. Now this right here is my great-grandmother. That's my grandmother's mom. And that's on my mom's side. Then we have on my old man's side. But just thinking about, just like stuff that should already be common sense. Like, I've never seen people over in Africa come over here, or never heard of them back in the days with gold in their mouth. We the people have gold in their mouth. This is my great-grandmother. Gold in her mouth. My mom's mom. Right there, gold in her mouth. Okay, and then we go into my old man, my chief. You know, my father, the one who, brought me into here. Here's his mom. Looks just like my son. You already know. The two birds of the feather. And you see that's my son. That's my grandmother. Who I was telling you guys, who told me, literally when I went to go and meet her in Louisiana, that we was Chata. We was Chata. Indians. Here she is right here with her brother. Now, here is my great-grandmother and my great-grandfather. Chata. Willie Chapman. And that's my great-grandmother, Sal, my grandmother's mom. Now, when we go into these genealogies in these games, well, and here go, on my mom's side, this is my grandfather, my great-grandfather. It's my great-grandfather, Zach. So this is my great-grandfather. This was his wife, and my grandmother, my mom's grandmother, my great-grandmother. All from the Louisiana areas. And he's under the pots. And here go. I want y'all to see something. So when we go into Tug Sanders is my great-great-grandfather. This right here is Willie Chapman, and this is my great-grandmother, Beatrice Sal. This is him right there. That's them right there. So, my grandmother, Sal, her parents were Tug. So this would make this my great-great-grandfather, and Laura Green, who we married. He is listed as a mulatto on here, or right here it says color. Right? Y'all see that? This is him, Tug Sanders, right here. 1873, they got him as color on here, right? They got him as color. Bear with me, y'all. I'm trying to find where it is. Now, right here. Here it is right here. Same person. Now he's listed as mulatto. That's him. That's Og Sanders, which is Tug Sanders. Right? Y'all see this? I want to make sure y'all seeing this. Og Sanders. Same person. All right, y'all, so this is my grandfather right there, who was Willie Chapman. This is him right here on here with his wife, Beatrice, which is Sal, and my grandmother and all of them, Beatrice Chapman. Right? Then you guys can go onto here. You can go to Access Genealogy, And then you can pull up Willie Chapman. Y'all see that? Listed as Choctaw. And then we go back to where was it at again? And see, they'll keep changing his name. Or where's it at? Og, Ing Sanders, Tug Sanders, Mulatto, Laura Sanders. Right here, coming down from the Sanders. Laura Green, 1878. 1873. So I've had to mark that down to keep track of everything what I'm doing. And then we have Anna Sanders. And we have Moses Sanders, which is their parents, which it tells you. And it says that Ann Sanders, in the 1800s, our great ancestor Ann Goodman Sanders lived and worked on a plantation in Lucknow, Louisiana, which is now Clear Lake, Louisiana. So y'all see, these are the type of games they play. These are, and this is a painting, an old painting of my grandma right there. The one you see over here in that picture, Sal. And this is her. Right, so you guys seeing what I'm showing you guys. So what do you feel about this? Like, how do you feel about everything that's coming out, the truth? Because who is this right here? We ain't even gotten to some of your pictures.
This is my grandmother, my mom's mom. And this is my dad's mom.
And this was who we call Paw Paw. That was his wife. Those two. In union together. Those two right there. Then we go into... Now who was that?
That's my dad's mom.
And that's her dad's mom. So we ain't going to keep up too much of you guys' time, because I can tell this camera's getting ready to... I don't know why it cuts off or does this, but... On that note, I want to show you guys something and leave you with this. Look at this. This picture was done before I even got this picture and known anything about this picture. Look at this. This is me and wifey. Now look at that picture. He's sitting down. She's standing up the same way I'm doing right there. Now, tell me the ancestors don't work. Y'all see that? Same complexion as me and him. Same complexion as her, my wife, and my great-grandmother Sal.
And this is her husband, my grandfather.
Take it back on, we can't see it.
My grandpa Red. They call him Red.
That's her dad's dad,
Father.
right? Yeah, that's her dad's dad.
And his mom.
And they call him what?
Red.
Only people that get called Red.
Light-skinned people.
And yellow bones. Right? So on that note, we want to say, do your research. Let's pass this torch down to our kids. Let's change everything. Follow the 2020 census. Put it down, what y'all need to be putting down. Know who you are. Start doing your research. Find out who you are. We say it like we always do. You have to wise up. While you're doing your research, you get wiser. Then you find out you're a tribe. Then you tribe up. Then you can rise up. And it's feathers up. You want to leave them with any last words?
I would just say that it's interesting in all the research that I did, from oral history to the actual documentation to support some of the most of the oral history that I've heard. Not once was anyone ever calling themselves African Americans or Black. They barely said Negro. The term that my family, on both sides of my family, tend to go back to is that our ancestry comes from being Aboriginals here to this land. There's nothing that I've found that support that anybody jumped off a boat and came here and landed. But everyone has already been here.
And that should make sense, like we were just saying. Common sense, but they always say it all the time. Common sense isn't so common anymore. But it should just make sense. They barely can get over the Atlantic Ocean now, going through there. What makes y'all think they're going to do it in a wooden tickety boat back then, bringing over all these people cramped on there? Nobody knows the amount of food, water they had. They're saying disease killed off these so-called Native Americans. We should be finding bones everywhere. But we know that if disease killed them off, then how are they bringing people on the ship and it didn't kill them off? These people over here eating good and got vitamins, all kind of nutrients in the food. These people on here starving, half dead, feces all over each other, vomit, menstrual cycles going on. And these people were able to come here and survive? And they needed to take a people from a whole nother continent where they had people all the way here to do their work. It should make sense, y'all. And we together as a family. Go ahead.
It's all a part of the programming. And what I find interesting too is even with some of the older folks in this generation today that are still around, they'll give you the story that say, yeah, they said we were Indians, but yet they're quick to go run and check off African American, negating the fact that they have already been told that you're Indian. Why are you holding on and claiming something that you're not if your ancestors that you had the privilege to speak to already told you who you were? So eventually I'm guessing everyone will get out this trans state that they're walking around in, that they've been programmed to acclimate to out of necessity for the most part. But hopefully we can all come together and be on one page, and we can, you know, the more we gather together, the easier it's going to be to get things changed.
And you have jewelry too that you make. So people have been asking me about your jewelry. A lot of the American Indians have been asking about your jewelry and stuff like that. So we got feathers up. She's got all this stuff on there. And where can they reach you at? Do you have any cards? Do you have anything you can show them? We have all this. Well, she has all this stuff that she spent her time with.
Mm-hmm. She hand makes everything.
We have these Jaguars right here. You know, Jaguars America.
They can go to my Facebook page. Everything that's available is on there. If you have an idea, if you see something that you would like to have recreated, I can do that as well. I do try to make only one of each thing. That way it's unique to you. But you can find me on Instagram and Facebook under the same